For 4 years and 2 months, technically, I had never seen Frozen. That changed last night, and I have some thoughts.
Show me what you got.
Hey guys and geeks, welcome back to the Geek Critique Show. I'm Jen.
I'm Dakota.
And we're going to talk about, what everyone's searching right now, really in-demand topic, Frozen.
It's the highest grossing animated film of all time. I mean, not adjusted for inflation, that would be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This is the highest grossing animated film of all time?
I think the song really helped it a lot.
Believe it or not, that was the part I had the most issue with in this movie.
The song?
Let It Go? Yeah. It turns out I had never even heard the full song, because the only part I know is the actual chorus.
Yeah, the song isn't just a chorus.
Kind of became a meme for a little bit. Before I get into negative stuff, I want to just say I liked the movie. It was cute. It was a good kids film, but I don't think it's even like top 10 best Disney movies.
Yeah, when I saw it when it was in theaters, and I liked a lot of parts of it. I liked the plot twist. But
I didn't see that coming.
It came out not too far after Tangled, which I thought was significantly better. So when everybody was like raving about Frozen, I was like...
Since we've been married, I've been kind of telling Jen that...
He's been wanting to watch it for years, and whenever he goes to put it on, I have like a million other things I'd rather watch.
And Tangled was one of them. And that is another film I have yet to see, because we kind of do this thing where I think it's time to watch Frozen. You should watch Tangled! And then we end up watching The Office.
Yes, that's exactly what would happen.
I really thought the art direction was phenomenal in this film. In Disney in general, they usually knock it out of the park with the art direction, but I think they really found their stride with computer-generated imagery, kind of beating out the classic 2D format that they've done for almost, a century. But I was really pleased with everything that I saw visually. Everything was beautiful. Some of the way that the ice worked kind of bugged me, because ice doesn't form in ways like that. It kind of reminded me of that moment when Mr. Freeze, the way that the ice formed around people was just physically stupid.
That's not how ice works.
That's not how ice works. I guess the reason I had such a big issue with the Let It Go song was at that moment I thought Elsa was being the most irresponsible person ever. She saw what was happening to her kingdom. She didn't not look back at all throughout that entire period where she found her way to the top of, what was it, North Mountain or something, and made a castle on top of it. She saw that she made her entire country of Norway turn into ice. And
in the summertime.
In the summertime. Everyone's crops are going to wither and die. Everyone's livelihood is ruined. People aren't prepared for this. Even the shop owner doesn't have any winter gear.
Big summer blowout.
That was actually, I like that scene a lot, the shop.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite
really
scenes.
cute. And what was funny was, like, as she was, like, running up the mountain and, like, building her stairs, Dakota's like, no. What's wrong with her? Everyone's crops are dying. He was saying that while we were watching the movie. It's not like he was it's not like he took time afterwards to overanalyze. That was Dakota's gut reaction. The crops are dying. And then, like, 2 scenes later, what's his name's like, well, I'm in the ice business, so you can imagine how my livelihood's going. I like how they thought of that and put it in the movie where it was a problem for people.
Right. They did retroactively come to the conclusion that this would ruin everyone's life if suddenly summer became winter, and then slowly kind of degraded and got colder and colder and more blustery. It kind of made Elsa the villain, which in a lot of ways this film kind of diverts the norm for Disney princess films, where usually the evil witch is the one holding the princess captive.
But here it's the princess going after the witch.
Right, or the queen.
I actually really liked that. I liked that Elsa was kind of treated like a villain her whole life for something that was out of her control. And then she kind of just became what people expected of her. That's kind of what Anna was saying when she was like, don't become what they all think that you already are. Because her parents basically knew, like, if people found out about her abilities, they would, basically want to burn her at the stake.
Joke's on them. She'll just freeze the fire.
The cold never bothered me anyway.
I had this dilemma after watching the movie where I thought to myself, if I applied this amount of scrutiny to Disney movies that I grew up with, would I still enjoy them? But I think I would, because I have seen most of those Disney movies again and see the value in them. This film, I see a lot of irresponsibility with... I thought Elsa was going to be the main character. Turns out Anna was the main character. That's fine. I kind of like that switch too.
It's not really a switch. Like, when the movie came out, it's just that Elsa got, like, more popular because she sings the famous song.
That's true.
So that's the only reason why you thought that.
That's a good point.
That ain't a switch.
But I do find that in Frozen, so much of, like, the common sense is just thrown out the window. I didn't find any characters to be emotionally invested in, besides maybe Anna and her plight. Never cared about her love interests, both of them.
Really?
Hans and Kristoff, yeah.
I love Kristoff.
I like Kristoff. I don't
and
dislike...
Sven.
Okay, yes, I like Sven.
And their whole livelihood.
I like Olaf. I like Sven. I like Kristoff. I like Hans. As characters, I think they're good characters, but I never felt emotionally invested in any of them except for Anna's plight.
I actually cared more about Kristoff than I did about Anna, if I'm being totally honest.
I also like the fact that at the end of the film, they didn't do the classic True Love's Kiss, which has been a staple of Disney since their first movie.
Yeah, I liked how she was running for True Love's Kiss, but then she realized...
All she needed was a sister.
Well, she saved her sister and herself.
That's true.
She realized she didn't care...
She was the act of true love, so what?
Yeah, that was the whole point. She gave the act of true love to her sister.
Oh.
He's hating on the film, he doesn't even get the point.
I get it.
That was the whole thing, because she was, like, running to be saved, you know, to kiss Kristoff, and then she realized, my sister's gonna die, and I don't want to live knowing that I could have stopped that. So she risked her life to help her, to save her sister, who's actually been, like, a total jerk to her most of their life.
What was the point of keeping that secret from Anna? I thought it was, like, to protect her from, like...
Her brain exploding?
For her brain exploding, but then the entire kingdom turns to ice, and she's all fine. She's fine with it.
Yeah,
she's
I
totally
thought something
cool.
bad was gonna happen, because, yeah, there wasn't really a purpose to keeping it from her then.
There was absolutely no purpose to keeping that from her. Maybe for a couple
maybe
years,
just to keep it from, like...
growing her abilities, maybe?
I don't know.
Because they're becoming dangerous, maybe?
Like, just to keep her safe, because them playing together. But, I mean, a simple solution would have just been, like, wanting you not turn the ballroom into, like, your ice palace fun time and, like, be responsible. I mean, you could hurt your sibling just as much, you know, with some basic household items if you're just playing around in a really stupid way. I think we all learned that if you had brothers.
Any siblings know this. It's a fact of life.
Like, you have to be careful with your siblings, or you might set them aflame.
And like her father mentioned, like, you'll learn to control it.
She can learn to control it, I'm sure.
But she never learned to control it.
I think at the end of the day, this is, like, really terrible parenting, too, because, like, yeah, let's just lock her in a room, the powerful little girl, most of her youth, to help her control her rage. How does that, like, as a fully functioning adult, how does that make any sense at all? That's like saying, my child has a problem, let me just lock them up their entire life long, and not, like, you're the freaking king and queen. Like, you can afford to get her, like, help. I don't know. I don't know what was afforded to them at that time. I'm sure you could
find some wizard that'll teach her how to use her powers, or send her to the trolls for a summer.
Yeah, maybe the
trolls. Or winter.
Yeah, exactly. Send her to the trolls for the winter, something. I mean, they took in Kristoff.
I guess my biggest issue with the film, aside from the irresponsibility of Elsa and, like, she did care for her kingdom, but she didn't care enough to try to stop it.
She's just like, I can't.
I can't. Well, maybe if your parents taught you how to control it like they said they would at the trolls, like, little hideout place.
She can learn to control it, I'm sure.
There's a lot of, like, little things that bug me that could have avoided a lot of this movie. One of those is the fact that she's so overpowerful. She's so incredibly powerful. Are we to believe that her bedroom somehow, like, contained her magic if she was able to turn the entirety of the country into an ice world?
She can learn to control it, I'm sure.
No, seriously, like, her parents died. That's as traumatic an experience as you're gonna have in life.
And yet, she was able
to contain it in her room. But the moment her sister takes her glove off at a party or not a party, but it's her coronation. Obviously, she's a little bit stressed. Very stressed. I'll give her that. She's very stressed. And her sister now wants to marry someone she's met on the first day of meeting that guy.
And she's seeing her sister for the first time in years. And, like, having a conversation with her.
Yeah, first time really interacting with her sister, I'd say. I'm sure she's seen her sister at dinner time or whatever. But all of a sudden, as soon as her one glove comes off, she's this terrible Ice Queen Galadriel girl, and she's able to not only just infect the courtyard outside and the ballroom indoors, but the entire country. Like, as soon as she touches the water, it's just a rippling effect. That's not how waves work. They eventually subside. I thought it was going to be like, in her wake, she was going to create like a path of ice, which is how they were going to lead to her being at the castle, and she needs to go back and do this. But her power was like so immeasurable that it never slowed. So one can reasonably assume that it actually covered the entire world. If there's no stopping her from the country, why not the rest of the world? Because we never saw it slow at all. This is really bothering me.
He was really vexed when we were watching the movie.
One thing with any fantasy, one thing with any type of magic system, it has to conform with the physics that you present in your own world. If it doesn't make sense, it breaks the magic. You become overly powerful. And I understand that this is a children's movie based on a children's book, but so was The Hobbit. You don't find that kind of crazy, bizarre fairy tale nonsense that you would in other children's stories. Another book based off of The Snow Queen, which is a Hans Christian Andersen story, The Chronicles of Narnia. The White Witch is probably based off of that Snow Queen that he talked about. Narnia makes sense. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. I like all the call-outs to Hans Christian Andersen, because there's the character named Hans, there's Kristoff, there's Anna. I guess you could even say like Sven, maybe a call-out to Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah.
Hans, Kristoff, Anna, Sven.
Wow, I did not put that together. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I mean, it makes sense because in the book they don't actually have names like these characters. They're just like generalized. This is the princess character. This is the troll character. This is the Snow Queen character. So it makes sense that they gave all these characters names. Where did Elsa come up with the design for her winter garb?
Maybe she had a lot of time to study fashion, architecture, whatever she wanted, how to build monsters. Who knows the vastness of their library?
Let's talk about Olaf for a little bit.
I loved Olaf.
He's funny. I was hoping at the end we'd get a much stronger, like, emotional payoff for Olaf. Him somehow saving the day and then losing his life because
Well,
of
he
it.
wanted to, but they found a way to make him live.
Yes. But I thought it was going to be more emotional than that. Kind of like an existential realization that snow melts. I wanted that moment. But he was just like, I don't care so long as I'm helping you. Which is nice. It's cute.
Yeah, I think too, like, you already had the death of the parents at the beginning of the film. And there was, like, already a lot of morbidity in this film, so I think seeing the comic relief character literally melt might have been a bit too much for children. It seemed like they wanted to go.
Movie.
It seemed like they wanted to go that route, but I don't know. I think they held back. It would have been like that scene in one of those Toys R Us or not Toys R Us. It seems like the scene in one of those toys. It seemed like the scene in Toy Story 4, I believe, where they're like,
3 of them.
it's. It seemed like the scene in Toy Story 3 where they're like all sitting and like going towards the flames, and like me as a fully functional adult was like weeping.
That's a fantastic scene. That's one.
But I think, like, for kids, that's kind of intense. I remember watching that and being like, what the heck? I was not expecting it to be this intense at Toy Story.
Toy Story 3 is one movie that I totally admit to just bawling my eyes out every time.
Everyone did. I saw it at a drive-in. I've never seen that many people crying. We were all, like, hysterical.
So fantastic.
All right, I think we can end things there. You get how he feels.
I like Olaf's character. I like when they meet him, they're all like, do you know the way? And then they finally get to Elsa's castle, and she's like, you are not the queen. And I guess overall, it was a good movie. It wasn't bad, but so much of it just could have been so much better. And I was expecting so much better for the highest grossing animated film of all time.
I literally told him time and time again, every time he watched the film, it's not as good as you think it's going to be. Because everything that I had heard about it going in to see it, when it was in theaters, I thought it was going to be like the best movie ever. And to me, it wasn't. But I'm not as critical as Dakota is. It just doesn't touch my heart the same way as a lot of other Disney films have.
Like, we saw Pocahontas the other day, and that was fantastic.
I think it was a lot of different feelings. There was one scene in the theaters that I got teared up at, when we were rewatching it, I couldn't remember when it was necessarily. Because maybe that was just like an emotional day for me or something, I don't know. Because then when we watched it, there wasn't like a wet eye in the house. But, I don't know. I think like it's nice to make, or to show children the value of siblingship at an early age. Because I think that's something that's... Sisterhood. I think too, like, I have a brother and I was like, oh, that's really nice. Like, you know, you really need to value your relationship with your siblings. It's very important. And I think for kids to see that is really cool. So I liked the different themes that they went with. Or you can't marry someone that you just met today. How many people have you met that literally just rush into relationships? And I've been, you know, a standby on that for like a couple of times where I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you running into this? You see things like this happen all the time. They're very realistic lessons to teach children, which I think is important and I think is really cool. But it's still not my favorite.
One thing I was going to mention earlier, but I totally forgot to mention, was the fact that you assumed Kristoff was going to run up and kiss Anna to, like, break the cold heart, whatever she had. I was thinking, but they've only known each other for 2 days. So I was...
Yeah, because that wouldn't have broke the spell, maybe. That's true.
I mean, I'm sure they have a stronger...
chemistry.
They're probably more amicable than Hans and...
Well, yeah, because Hans turned out to be a total douche.
Yeah.
Which I kind of liked, too, because it's like... It kind of did play with the idea of the villain, like the knight in shining armor guy, ended up actually being the villain, where her sister, who was portrayed as the villain, wasn't. There were a lot of really cool themes and a really cool concepts that I liked a lot from the film.
So we're actually going to be going to Disney World in...
a couple of weeks.
2 weeks.
I am so freaking excited. So that's why we're catching up on our Disney stuff. We've been playing Kingdom Hearts together.
Yeah, it's her first time playing Kingdom Hearts. That's my favorite game of all time.
It's awesome.
So to see her, like, playing through it for the first time ever, she just beat Cerberus.
Took a lot of tries. And then Dakota keeps saying, like, well, you beat it faster than me when I first played it. And I was like, yeah, you were like 7.
She did. She beat it faster than I did.
It doesn't change the fact that I suck, but it's okay.
So this month we're going to be talking a lot about Disney. We're going to have a lot of vlogs in Disney. We're going to be doing, I think, vlogs in each of the 4 parks in Disney World, as well as, like, reviews like this one to kind of lead us up to that moment where we're actually at Disney. And comment below, like, any tips you guys have, any things that we should know going into it. We are staying at one of the value resorts, the music one, I think, and we still haven't gotten our fast passes in. It was kind of like a last minute thing that we decided to book, so we haven't been able to, like, book, like, the reservations or fast passes or anything like that. But yeah, comment below if there's anything we should know. Thanks, guys.
Bye.